Recording in progress.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our public hearing for 2026-2027 proposed budget and 2026 tax year proposed tax rate. At this time, this meeting is being called to order by the Lancaster ISD Board of Trustees. Today's date is August 26th. The time is 5:34 p.m. This meeting has been posted in accordance to the Texas Open Meetings Act. It's being held at the Lancaster Administration Board Auditorium at 422 South Center Avenue, Lancaster, Texas. And I will now call roll. Dr. Reed? Present. Ms. Boris? Present. Ms. Nichols?
Present.
Mr. Jones?
Present.
Ms. Cortez?
Present.
Myself present. Currently absent is Mr. Cluis. Okay, at this time, this is a public hearing. I will now turn it over. Well, let me one thing. Do we have any citizens communications, Dr. Ferrer?
Not to my knowledge, Madam
Okay.
President.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, we'll convene into the public hearing. 4.1 is discussion of Lancaster ISD School District 2026-2027 proposed budget and 2026 tax year proposed tax rate. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, Madam President. Before I turn it over to Ms. Mosley, I would like to share something with the community and our board and our audience here today, if you don't mind. I just really want to talk about, again, the squeeze that we have as public schools that we're all experiencing but can't stop nor control. We all know the federal story that has dominated our headlines this past year, including stories about Title I funding, block grant proposals, and moving programs to other agencies. And yes, it deserves some attention, but for most districts in Texas, the harder, slower moving problem is making ends meet with our declining budgets from our state and local dollars. Yet we know enrollment is down, low birth rates, demographic shifts, that's down across the state by almost 80,000 students. Dallas County has a drop, and so does Lancaster. A few years ago, we hired a demographer to kind of sound that alarm for our community. And what he shared was the birth rates were steadily declining, which would impact our school-age population. Most state funding systems knew this was coming. Many districts, of course, have been aware, but these aren't marginal shifts. The basic allotment to us is vital, but it can be offset by some attendance pieces. The fiscal consequences are already arriving with the need to optimize our facilities with our capacity, also potential realignment of staffing, et cetera. This fall, I'm going to commission a committee to review future budget enhancements and also adjustment options for our district. We all know in our personal lives, costs are up. Fuel costs in particular has hurt us. Last year we budgeted $300,000 for transportation fuel. We had to increase that by $50,000 at one point. We brought you all to amend. Again, even districts that are able to maintain some of those things are being hurt by those costs that have been driven up. The state funding formulas, I will say, have been stagnant since 2019. We are built, and they weren't built for what's happening right now. Attendance-based funding is instead of per dollar per student, which means we don't get a dollar for every student that is enrolled. We only get those for the percentage of students that attend. Texas, in a sense, ranks 43rd in public school funding, yet they rank #1 in voucher programs, taking money away from schools. This churn of underfunding and outdated formulas, for me, rising costs makes long-term decisions for you all as board members, myself as a superintendent, makes it very hard as we continue to see those costs going up. And we're charged by you all as the board to fulfill your goals, and you've made a gallant effort in investing in our students, and I think you're seeing some of the great results of that on behalf of the staff. But I just want to say to our legislators, there's very little runway left for us to adjust, and I want to say that the can has run out of road. We can't keep kicking this down the road. And with that said, tonight you'll hear from Ms. Dana Mosley, who will do tax rate and budget proposals. And again, remember, please know that budgets are estimates. They're not necessarily true until we have taken care of, closed the books at the end of the year. But this is what we are proposing. And we began that process back in January. and starting to meet with you all back in March on the budget. And so tonight, Ms. Mosley is here to present that information. Ms. Mosley, the floor is yours whenever you are ready.
Okay. Good afternoon, Board President Hamilton, board members, and Dr. Pereira. This evening, we're having a public hearing for the 2026-2027 proposed budget and the 2026 tax rate year proposal. Okay. Just on top. Okay, this process, we started the process, as Dr. Pereira said, in January, and then we met with you, the board, March 4th, 2026, in the discussion in closed session regarding the budget. Then early in April, we came to you to approve the early resignation incentive, which you did. And then in April 15th, we had a budget committee meeting, and we discussed if you have this much revenue and this much expenditures, what would you be eliminating? We did that exercise at the board committee meeting. And then May 28th, we met here and we discussed the budget, the balancing act between the state and the local funds. It's working now. So the budget assumptions this year with the budget preparation were tax collection, and we received our certified values on July 25th, 2026. We also take into account average daily attendance, student enrollment, and WADA, which is your weighted average daily attendance. Also, we looked at budgeted expenditure assumptions, which is staffing and compensation, and then all of our fixed operational costs, utilities, insurance, risk management, the lease costs, and then you have to remember we have costs of recapture because we're a property-rich district. So this year for the tax collection, as I said, we received the certified values July 25th, 2026. And we project revenue collections to be $46,148,793. So let's discuss enrollment. As Dr. Pereira stated, statewide enrollment is down, and as you can see, this is the enrollment trends for Lancaster ISD. And this was a picture on August 20th. Since then, our enrollment has gone up, slightly gone up, but still it is on the decline. The demographer we had in 2024 predicted that it would be a dip. He did not necessarily say it would be dipped that deep as it's going, but he did predict a dip in the demographic study. Okay, so with average daily attendance, as a district, we have gone up in the attendance rate by 1%. However, when you have a lower number of children attending with enrollment, and then the average daily attendance goes up, the decline is still there because you go down in numbers, even though the percentage goes up. As a whole, the amount is decreased. Also, we looked at the facility capacity and we're reevaluating the facility capacity that we utilize for the enrolled students that we have here. So in all, for the proposed revenues, because the budgets are built on revenues, you have tax collection, the interest from the investment account, you have your gate and entry fees from athletic events. We have a Bright Beginnings program where we receive a little local revenue. We have a Head Start program where we receive revenue, and then you have concessions. Then we also consider the state aid that we get for our weighted average daily attendance and our regular school allotment that we get, available school programs. We have a little bit in SHARS because, as you know, that has decreased drastically, and we get a little bit from indirect costs from our grants. And we get a 50% reimbursement from JROTC for any JROTC teachers that we have employed. So for a total proposed revenue of $78,433,673. This is a state aid template that we use. We use the OMAR template. So where I got the number for the local taxes, we put these numbers in a template, and it generates the estimated revenues that we get based on the state aid template. As you can see, the $46,148,793 is there from local taxes, And then the money received from state aid would be $24,867,880. You have your cost to recapture in there, and then the total net that we will receive, less those other factors that are in there, $70,884 and $70,884,179. As I stated, the school funding formula is a balancing act. If you receive a lot of taxes, you get less state aid, and the inverse is that. If you get more state aid, then they take your taxes. So this evening, I'm proposing this functional budget for the general operating fund with a total of $90,442,016. And this is a functional budget. TEA dictates that you have to approve the budget functionally, and that's why it's shown here functionally. As you can see, function 91 is where we have our recapture amount, which is $1.5 million because we collect high property tax and declining enrollment, and so they take our money. This is a pie chart that represents the percentage, how the functions were depicted in the previous slide. And where you see function 11, which is instruction, is 50% of the budget, as it should be. The next is by object class, which shows that payroll is 78% of our budget at $70,515,037. The next slide represents, the slide should be fixed, but the $68 million represents school operations. It's switched. I'm correcting it right now. School operations is $68,355,514.59. Administration is $6,125.65. And district-wide is the $15,961,435.93. The next slide is the trend since 2021 of our revenues and expenditures, and also a representation of our fund balance projected at 2027. And as you can see, expenditures have gone up in function 11 throughout the years. All expenditures have gone up. The budget has gone up to $90,442.16. $90,442,016. And then the projected fund balance at the end of 2027, which is the projection, is $3,469,271. I think that's a one. So recapping the highlights, projected declining enrollment results in a reduction of state aid. The recapture reduces state aid, also approximately $1.5 million. Although we have an increase in ADA due to declining enrollment, the refined ADA is reduced. The district is revisiting facility capacities and organizational structure. Revenue increases from House Bill 2 gave increases to payroll, but then you had to pay it out, so it was a net effect. We did not receive any additional state aid. And then the rising cost of inflation and cost of living has hit the district through fuel costs, supply costs. Everything has gone up at least 20% since 2019. So the district reorganization and deficit recovery strategy. We currently have right now land out for sale, and we potentially could receive at the lowest $3.2 million for this land. We have a Come Home campaign to recapture kids to come back to our district. As you were presented a property lease for tower leases that could generate us revenue of $12,000 annually. And then in accounts payable, we're continuing to do our 30-day net payment to vendors to allow us to have interest in our investment account. We also are revisiting the immediate hiring controls by freezing positions for hiring if they're not needed positions, like dire needed positions. We're reviewing staffing. We're going to optimize facility usage, and then we have a long-term expenditure reduction plan that we will bring to you in months to come. So this is the difference in the budget proposals from 2026 and 2027. As you can see, the budget increased $758,279. And you can see the functional increases and decreases in this spreadsheet. So within the Best Southwest, there are other districts that are adopting deficit budgets. Duncanville just recently adopted a deficit budget of $11.3 million, Cedar Hill 2.6, and DeSoto $195,946. Child nutrition. As a board, you must adopt the child nutrition budget as well. This is a representation of the revenue we receive from child nutrition for the meals we serve our students. And the proposed revenue for child nutrition is $5,510,000. The proposed expenditures is $6,524.35, with the majority of the costs being for contracted services because we have a third-party vendor that serves our students the meals. This is the representation of the budget. We're proposing that we adopt a deficit budget for child nutrition. As you know, we have a required spend for the fund balance down on child nutrition, and we project to use the fund balance to do kitchen lines for our schools. This is a required spend down for child nutrition, which leaves us a projected ending fund balance at fiscal year 2027 of $2,086,196. Debt service. Debt service is where we collect our revenues for the INS. We just recently had a bond sale where the district saved $7 million when we sold the bonds in interest, because the interest rate, we hit the market good and the interest rate was good. And so with that, with the tax rate not going down, we're proposing that we're gonna collect revenues of $29,681,162. And then we will have bond payment costs of $29,860,367, which is an impact to the fund balance for debt service of $795. We're not collecting over, just very slightly over what the we need to collect to pay our debt, with a projected fund balance of $10,369,960. And this is the order for the child nutrition, not child nutrition, but debt service, how we came up with the budgeted numbers we have there. So here depicted is a combination of general operating, child nutrition, and debt service adoption budgets of revenue and expenditures functionally, and the projected fund balance at the end of 2027. Proposed tax rate. This year, the district is proposing a total tax rate of 1.179. This is a decrease from last year's tax rate. The tax rate for 2026 fiscal year and calendar year 2026, the M&O Tier 1 rate is a rate dictated by TEA due to maximum compression. And then, as you know, we already get the 17 pennies because we've done a Vader, and that's the max we can collect. And then the INS rate is 0.4375, which we told taxpayers we would not increase the tax rate if we sold bonds, and we did not. But it is a decrease in the tax rate this year. This is a historical view of the tax rate for Lancaster Independent School District from 2005 to 2027. And as you can see, we went from 185 to 117 in the debt service rate as well. That concludes the public hearing and the presentation of the budget. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the board's comments?
Madam President?
Okay. Ms. Cortez, hold on just a moment for me. Just for the record, Mr. Cluis arrived at 5:38 p.m. And Ms. Cortez.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify the tax collection received, was it July 24th or July 25th?
It's July 25th, which was a Saturday. The record has July 25th, but we received it July 24th to start the numbers, but it was a Saturday. So if you go to Dallas County Central Appraisals, they'll say we got it the 25th, but we got it the 24th here in the district. That's why it was the mix-up on the 25th. Let's make it the 25th.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Morris?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Shaw, I want to thank you. I know you're working very tight. We're on a very tight budget, and I think you're doing a great job for even a reduce in taxes. When I was reviewing some of the documents, I saw that there are quite a bit, over 2,000 individuals that have elected to take the exemption from our school tax. So that hurt us. Do you suspect or project, maybe that's the right word, that we may have more?
No, I can't predict that. I do know that we did have a lot of protests where we had to send back money this year.
Right. Okay, thank you so much.
Madam President.
Mr. Cluis?
Ms. Mosley, I have a question. The fund balance would be equal to my savings account, correct?
Correct.
So it's gone down over the last 5, 6 years. What are we gonna do next year if we're following the same trend?
Pray.
We're not gonna follow this trend. We will be doing a reduction and we will be reorganizing and right-sizing. The trend will stop.
So it sounds like there are gonna have to be some tough cuts. Doctor, one of the things that I've heard in the news this week is.
Can you make sure you're speaking to your mic?
Something creative, something creative one other school district was doing, and that was some of the staff filling in for substitutes. Have you heard that story?
I have not, but we do have some, we have been utilizing some creative solutions for that.
Well, I'm sorry, what this school district was doing was, pardon me, they were taking their top administrators and placed them in classrooms various hours throughout the day. That was helping them to reduce their substitute costs.
And we do already, have been actually for the last 5 years.
Okay.
We have done some of that. A lot of my staff, if you subbed in the last 5 years, please raise up your hands in here. So
Can board members substitute?
I'll have to check into that, but I know the employees, we all do. I know Dr. Barker's always reassigning some folks, some are instructional specialists, the RTI individuals that we've had. Everyone here subs. That's at least if they're certified to teach, we definitely have.
Yeah. So I think that says that.
In fact, I require the cabinet to teach at least twice a year. So that's not even necessarily subbing, that's going in and teaching so we can stay connected. But yes, those are all creative ideas, but we're using, like I say, we're running out of road that can. That's what I'm sharing.
Okay.
And we'll continue to look for innovative ways to do those things, because we know people they have some competing things that happen in their livelihoods.
Okay.
So.
Thank you both.
Madam President? Dr. Reed, give me just a moment. Ms. Nichols you'll be next. Ms. Nichols?
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. In reference to our enrollment, because we know it's dropping, I think it's dropped a good 22% or so over the years. I'm just thinking, have we did like a long-term goal on or plan on what we're planning to do? Because we're losing, revenue, right?
Yes.
Because of that. So I'm just curious to see how much we've lost since the decline of students.
How much revenue?
Yeah, how much have we lost since that? And then if we do our forecasting for, the loss per 100 students or the cost that we gain, I would want to know that as well.
So you get 6215 times whatever ADA is times that student. So, I could probably map. It's about $5 million that you.
So about $5 million we've lost. Yeah, that's because students are going to other schools or whichever, right? Thank you, Dr.
You're welcome. We do have some transient students that go to other places, but again, as we saw with our demographers information, the birth rate has declined. We do have a Come Home and other campaigns that we've run over the years. We have yielded some students from those, but we also have lost some. And I'm just going to give you an example right now. On our roll, we have about 80 kids that are still on our books that we don't have requests from other school districts of their records. We're not sure what's happening. I know Dr. Jackson and his team this past week have been going to those last known addresses, seeing where kids are. We are beating bushes and all kinds of looking under couch pillows for coins and for kids to make sure that they're here. I'm not saying that we've exhausted everything, but everything to our knowledge that we can do, we are doing. We do have kids going other places, but we also have kids coming to us as well. We have a lot of kids that are out of district that come to us. And for whatever reason, you know, we don't have families. I know Dr. Jackson and his team have enrolled a number of kids this summer. But we also have lost, like I shared, almost 80 kids. We have no idea where they are right now. And that's going to hurt us now, and it'll hurt us later with dropout if we don't find them.
Yeah, so if we continue to lose another 200 or 300 kids,